Coming up on this week's news, 3 solar panel fraudsters are sentenced for their part in a £1.3 million scam. Electricians get to grips with the new Amendment 3 of the wiring regulations, and a power firm is fined almost £250,000 after a high-voltage electrical linesman is paralysed. Welcome to Electrical News Weekly in association with Solar Trade Sales, your easy one-stop shop for all things solar. Whether you're listening in the van, on-site or down at the wholesale counter, I'm Joe Robinson, and I've been through the best of the electrical industry news to save you the trouble. And if you think you spotted the 2 words that I've been challenged to slip into this week's show, comment with them below for the chance to win a prize. 3 people have been sentenced for their part in running an electrical renewables installation scam. The trio ran 2 companies which offered solar panels, heat pumps and water heating systems. The firms ripped off hundreds of customers to the tune of £1.3 million. Sun Power Renewables was set up in 2014 and used cold calling and bullying tactics to get people to buy solar panels and other products that were often unsafe, unsuitable, and in some cases never installed. Loans were fraudulently taken out in customers' names, with the money arriving under the guise of government grants and then taken away by Sun Power, leaving their victims to pick up the repayments. A second firm, ProShield, was set up to sell home security systems to a database of homeowners. Sentencing recorder Penelope Stanistreet Keane said that the people who bought alarms could have died waiting for help that wasn't coming. Robin MacDonald, 44, of Park Road, Bretby, Burton-on-Trent, was described as having a leading role in the operation of both firms. He was sentenced to 7 years imprisonment for 4 counts of fraudulent trading and conspiracy to trade fraudulently, and disqualified from being director of a company for 10 years. Roy Hampshire, 58, of Light Ash Lane, Coven, Wolverhampton, who was involved in the day-to-day operation of ProShield, was sentenced to 1 year and 8 months in jail, suspended for 18 months, 12 days community service, and disqualified from being a director of a company for 6 years. Nicola Mather, 44, of Robert Adam Road, Derby, had allowed hundreds of thousands of pounds to wash through her accounts for the firm. She was sentenced to 12 months imprisonment, suspended for 12 months and 200 hours of community service. All 3 will be subject to a Proceeds of Crime Act at a later date. Still in the courts, a power firm has been fined £240,000 after a high-voltage electrical linesman was paralysed in a fall. Gavin Pugh from Bangor in North Wales had been demolishing and replacing electricity pylons in East Staffordshire when he fell more than 30 feet in April 2022. Birmingham Magistrates Court was told how Pugh and his colleagues began working on a pylon in preparation for its demolition. They were unaware there had been previous work to loosen the bolts on the tower undertaken by a separate team of linesmen. This work had not been risk assessed, and there were no systems in place to effectively record and communicate what they had actually done. Pugh unknowingly attached his full protection lanyard to a diagonal steel that was only securely bolted in place at its uppermost fixing. As he moved around the tower, the steel he was attached to dropped into a vertical position, causing his lanyard to fall loose, resulting in him falling to the ground. He spent 6 months in hospital and has been left unable to work as a result of his extensive injuries. A probe by the Health and Safety Executive found that his employer, Wood Transmission and Distribution Limited, failed to ensure that the work at height was properly planned, appropriately supervised and carried out in a manner that was safe. The company had not considered the work at height hierarchy as part of its planning and had not assessed all the risks. Furthermore, it had failed to put in place a process for transferring work between teams and ensuring safety critical information was recorded and communicated effectively. Wood Transmission and Distribution Limited of Booths Park, Chelford Road in Knutsford, pleaded guilty at Birmingham Magistrates Court to breaching the work at height regulation of 2005. This month, the company was fined £240,000 and ordered to pay costs of £14,000. HSE Inspector Robert Gidman said that the incident could have been prevented had Wood Transmission and Distribution Limited put in place adequate arrangements to protect its workers from harm. And if you are affected by this story and would like to know a little bit more about the working at heights regulations and the working at heights hierarchy, then please check out the free training package that we've made for you, along with the Luceco group. There's lots of information there concerning working at height and other health and safety factors. In other news, electricians are starting to get to grips with the new Amendment 3 to the wiring regulations, which was released last week. The revision to BS 7671 aims to clear up confusion over the use of unidirectional and bidirectional RCDs for power sources, such as solar panels and home batteries. The amendment was fast-tracked by the IET and the British Standards Institute after the alarm was raised earlier this year that RCDs and MCBs were being incorrectly connected to micro-generator installations. If you haven't got it yet, you'll need to download it for free from the IET's website. It's a requirement that all NIC EIC certified businesses download a copy of the amendment. The PDF is considered a bolt-on to the Brown Book, much like Amendment 1 was back in 2020. The IET says that the Brown Book and the amendments will be valid until at least 2026. Why 2026, I hear you cry? Because that will be when the freshly announced Amendment 4 is expected to be published. There's never, to my knowledge, been 4 amendments to an edition of BS 7671 before, which reflects the rapidly changing nature of our industry at the moment. But you won't have to wait 2 years to find out more. The draft for public consultation goes live this Wednesday, the 7th of August, so you can not only get a good idea of what the thrust of the major changes will be, but also have your say on what should and shouldn't make it in. There's also a live webinar you can join at noon on the day of the launch, where Mark Coles, the head of technical regulations at the IET, and his team will announce the expected key changes and their impact on you. There's even a live Q&A session afterwards, so you can get your key questions answered. As always, there's a link in the show notes, and hopefully we'll see you there. Speaking of all things regulations, last week's question of the week was taken from our free training package on underfloor wiring systems from Marshall Toughlex. We asked, according to Regulation 433.3.1, if overload protection is omitted from a conductor, what type of protection should be provided? The correct answer, according to that regulation, is of course fault protection, which a reasonably acceptable 72% of people got right on YouTube, but only 64% hit on LinkedIn. To find out why it's sometimes okay not to provide overload protection to a circuit, check out that free training package by clicking the link in the show notes. You'll also find there a link to our latest CPD, which was also made with Marshall Toughlex, this time on making sure your containment is compliant, not just with the regs, but also manufacturer's instructions on weight loading, environmental factors, and premature collapse of wiring systems. Now, in product news that's hotter than horseradish, the concept of EV charging cables running across the pavement has been given a major boost this week. West Berkshire Council has become the first local authority in the UK to give the thumbs up to a ducting system from Turbocharge. The council has just completed a trial of the product, which is designed to help householders without driveways to charge their car easily. As it's recessed, there's no trip hazard for pedestrians. West Berkshire will now offer the option to all its residents. Under the plan, its highways contractor, Volker Highways, will carry out the installations. Turbocharge says home charging is 5 to 10 times cheaper than public chargers. When a resident wants to charge their car, they insert the cable into the channel and the lid closes behind it like a zip, eliminating any trip hazard. The approval has been welcomed by Kerbo investor and TV star Deborah Meaden, who backed the firm on an episode of Dragon's Den. Now, have you ever struggled to fit a dimmer into a cramped space? Well, struggle no more. Electrical device maker Theben has just unveiled the world's smallest dimmer. The eFIXX 540 has been designed for electricians working in ultra-tight spaces. It's the size of a £2 piece, but has the power of a full-size dimmer. It can provide flicker-free dimming for up to 150 watts of LED power. Even better, no neutral wire is required. You can also control the lighting from multiple locations using just one eFIXX module combined with push-to-make switches. Surely something as radical as this deserves a dedicated video, I hear you cry at your computers and phones. And it totally does. So we did one. Well, Gary did. And you can sit back and watch how he got on with the world's smallest dimmer in his latest vid, fresh from the edit suite. I've put the link to that in the show notes. You can also see the eFIXX 540 in the flesh at the Theben stand at any of the forthcoming electricians shows. Lewden tells us that its full EV charging range is now available in the UK. The series includes 14 distribution cabinets for multiple EV charging, 13 RCBO consumer units with surge protection, and 5 retrofit consumer units for the addition of EV chargers. There are also accessories such as fuse switches, isolators, and distribution terminal blocks. That's a lot of choice, so they've handily brought all their EV charging infrastructure together in one brochure. I've popped the download link to that in the show notes. And finally, your annual reminder that many traditional lighting technologies are set to be phased out over the coming years. That's because the mercury in many of the light bulbs is considered more hazardous than your nan's 10-year-old fruitcake. There will be a bulb ban on all high-intensity discharge sources from 2027. This includes high-pressure sodium and metal halide, including quartz and ceramic arc tubes. As these systems are expensive to replace, the lighting industry is recommending that installations move to all LED ahead of the ban. Thanks to the anonymous person who sent us that story via our press release submission page. Please make sure you include your name next time so that we can give you full credit. And lastly, a reminder that we're in the market for your stories, your projects and your recommendations, as we'd like to share them with the wider eFIXX community. In August, we're focusing on residential lighting, smart homes and heating. Send us pictures of your installs or let us know if you've come across any new kit that's making your job easier. And just before we get to your favourite bit of the show, where I reveal last week's challenge words and winners, we want to thank our premium partners. We couldn't make the news without you. First up, it's the people who created the Swiss Army knife of solar inverters along with all-weather batteries. Very much the Boy Scouts of the solar industry, it's SunSync. Up next, for all your circuit protection needs, they're like having an Italian star striker in your Premiership team. It's Lewden EV. Next, they're the brand that pride themselves in keeping people close to what's important with the world's most recognisable doorbell chime. It's Ring. And welcome to a brand new partner. They're resolving ventilation problems one property at a time with products made right here in the UK, breathing fresh air into your home. It's Environment. And do you want a no-fuss lighting solution that's packed with value? Then try the EcoLink range from Signify, combining value for money with top-end Signify quality. Now, a business that will literally bend over backwards to give you the first-class service on the trade-only supply of signal reception and distribution, custom install, home automation and security products for all residential and commercial projects. It's All Trade. If you want to pump up the jam and join the home heating revolution, then it's got to be heat pumps from Dakin. The best thing to come out of Yorkshire since stainless steel, the home of EV Ultra and other groundbreaking and quality products, it's Doncaster Cables. With an incredible range of equipment from EV charge points through industrial sockets and switches to kit for explosive areas, plus they supplied gear for a Campari factory, so they'll always have a place in my heart. It's Scarmy. Big thanks to you all. We really appreciate your ongoing support for the news. If you think you know the words that I've smuggled into today's show, pop your guess into the comments. We'll take all the correct guesses and select one at random to be the winner of an eFIXX goodie bag prize. Answers submitted after about lunchtime on the Thursday after release will not be entered into the draw. Now let's reveal the winners of last week's challenge word competition. The words were synthesizer and curlew, and the person who we plucked out of our digital hat was Yes9466. Very well done to you. Make sure you click the link in the show notes to claim your prize. Thanks for listening to this episode of Electrical News Weekly in association with Solar Trade Sales, your easy one-stop shop for all things solar. Make sure you subscribe to receive the next update. Thanks for listening, and until next time, have a great week. Stay safe out there, and remember, there's no such thing as a torque calibrated arm.